I think one of the biggest questions regarding Dispatch and Mechaman is who really built the Astral Pulse. We have some clarity on that now. We have some information that might give us the answer, maybe a definitive answer. I think we'll know for sure tomorrow when the final 2 episodes release and the final comic issue releases, The Death of Mechaman. But I wanted to dive into this today and talk a little bit about the information that we do have at hand. And so to start off, we have to look at the Astral Pulse itself. What is it? Apparently, it's an energy source that is used to power the entire Mechaman armor, and it's highly advanced, and only someone with really high intellect, a genius, could build such a thing. That's what the Astral Pulse is. And again, it powers the entirety of Robert Robertson III's Mechaman suit. We see that it's a big talking point throughout the game, throughout the story. And that is the key thing missing right now to be able to revive the Mechaman suit armor once again. So Mechaman was first created by Bobby Robertson, which was the first Robertson, and he was known as Mechaman Prime. He created this suit to be able to combat supervillains, and he himself didn't have any powers. The people loved him, and he was there for the betterment of his city, and he was there to save civilians. So he was a hero by all accounts and purposes. He just didn't have any superpowers. After Mechaman Prime died, his son, Robbie Robertson II, took over the responsibilities of Mechaman, and he was a rocket scientist. So he was smart. He was very smart himself, and he potentially created the rocket thrusters and jetpacks that allowed for Mechaman Astral, which was his name now, to fly. He made improvements to the armor. And so one of the things that really improved the suit, the thing that took Mechaman to the next level, that gave him extra power, extra energy, and the ability to take on greater foes, was the Astral Pulse. Now, who created the Astral Pulse? Well, Robert Robertson III, the current Mechaman, believed that his dad, Robbie, was the one who engineered the Astral Pulse. He says it a few times when he's talking to Royd. He says, "Oh, my dad was too busy building Astral Pulses, so he didn't have much time to talk to me." He believed that. But he has also, I think, admitted that he doesn't have schematics for the Astral Pulse. He has everything else that could help him rebuild the entire Mechaman suit that was destroyed in his first fight with Shroud, but he doesn't have the schematics, what makes the Astral Pulse. And so then you start kind of setting some doubt. You start thinking, well, maybe Robbie didn't build the Astral Pulse. When you face Toxic and Shroud and all those villains in the first episode, Toxic keeps saying that he just wants the Astral Pulse. That's it. Just give me the Astral Pulse and I don't want nothing else. You can leave, because the Astral Pulse isn't yours. It was never yours. So again, he put some more doubt. Then when you're having that conversation with Royd, and Royd says, "I talked to your father. He was a very smart guy, but he didn't build the Astral Pulse because he wasn't like a lab guy. He was smart to build some things, but he couldn't have built the Astral Pulse. The Astral Pulse was built by somebody else." And that kind of shocked Robert, but he didn't really push too much on that. He kind of just let it go. But again, that kind of told us, all right, something really isn't right here. So then that would beg the question, who built it? And the comic, the third issue released last week, basically gave us that information. Now, we know that Shroud is supposedly Elliot Connors, who was part of the Brave Brigade, which was a superhero team led by Robbie Robertson II, Mechaman Astral. We know that Robbie was killed in an incident involving Shroud, Elliot Connors. And so that death happened 15 years ago. Now, I don't know if this is fully accurate, but apparently the game of Dispatch takes place in 2023. So if it's 2023 minus 15, we get 2008. That means that Robbie died in 2008, and 9 years earlier, he received the Astral Pulse. How do we know that that happened 9 years earlier? Well, if we look at the comic here, this comic panel here takes place in 1999, so 9 years before the death of Robbie. Robbie is having a cookout with the Brave Brigade members, and he's talking to Chase. They're talking about letting somebody into the team. This somebody would be Elliot Connors. We would find this out a little bit later. But Chase says, "And I think you should let the Brave Brigade members who'll actually get a boost from the tech make the call." And Robbie's kind of like, I don't know. And then Chase says, "Hey, you got the Astral Pulse out of him. What about the rest of us?" You see what I mean? And then he says, "Wait, he's coming over." So they're clearly talking about the guy who built the Astral Pulse. And so what happens next? Elliot Connors presumably arrives. He says, I don't mean to interrupt. I was talking to the Vitalia about the vote, and she agrees. And then Robbie kind of shuts him down. So they refer to this guy as Eli. And it would be a stretch not to assume that this is Eli Connors, Elliot Connors. Obviously makes freaking sense, right? It makes sense. Genius guy, builds the Astral Pulse for Robbie Robertson, the superhero, and then he wants to join the team because obviously he wants to be a part of superheroes, but they don't want him in, or Robbie Robertson doesn't want him for some reason. And it clearly seems like Elliot or Eli, he seemed kind of nerdy, seemed kind of annoying maybe sometimes, seemed like he was overcompensating for something or wanting to join the team because he thought it was cool and wanted to be friends with these guys, and they didn't necessarily want him on the team. At least the leader didn't, which was Robbie Robertson. He just wanted to get something out of him, and that was it. So we basically get some confirmation in this comic that the Astral Pulse was not built by Robbie Robertson. It was actually built by Eli, aka Elliot Connors, who would later become Shroud. Clearly, there was a disagreement there. Clearly, some bad blood was going on. Maybe Elliot Connors and Robbie had a falling out. 9 years later, in 2008, Elliot did not want to be a part of the team anymore because maybe Robbie was taking credit for the Astral Pulse and ignoring Elliot's genius, ignoring the role that Elliot had played in creating such a beloved hero in their city. And Robbie didn't want to give up the Astral Pulse. Robbie maybe wanted to fight him, and this led to a big disagreement. And then somehow, maybe by accident, maybe by choice, maybe in a freak explosion, Robbie Robertson dies, and Elliot Connor goes to jail for this murder, and he never gets his hands back on the Astral Pulse. In 2008, Robert Robertson III, the current Mechaman, picks up the suit, picks up the Astral Pulse, and starts doing superhero duties. When Elliot Connors releases 15 years later, in 2023, Elliot Connors wants what belongs to him. He wants his Astral Pulse back. For whatever reason, he just needs it back. Maybe he doesn't want Mechaman to still be out there doing superhero shit with his technology. And so I think that's what it is. I think the real creator of the Astral Pulse is Elliot Connors, and Robbie, Robert's dad, took the credit for doing it, and that's what led to his downfall.